There's a current story going on with Shelly Miscaviage, right? Apparently that they haven't been able to find her, but they did find her. It's a very convoluted story.
It is. Yeah. So every answer I'm going to give you this is something that's already been discussed, for example, on the Leah Remini and Leah Remini Scientology and the Aftermath television show.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the whole thing?
No.
Okay. There's an episode specifically about Shelly Miscaviage. And the reason why I mention that is because Leah Remini is the one who originally raised the issue of like, where's Shelly?
Right.
And she's the one who filed the missing persons report on Shelly. So, you know, in Leah Remini's TV show, she did an episode about Shelly where they actually show where she works, where she's working. It's, stop me if I get too far off into the weeds, but you're familiar that Scientology has an international management base like out in the desert in California, right? You're familiar with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
They call
What's
that
it called? The Gold something?
It's called the Int Base.
Okay.
But on the Int Base is a movie studio called Golden Era Productions.
Right. Okay.
So if you're a public Scientologist, you might hear someone say, oh, I shot a film at Gold.
Okay.
But Gold refers to the studio, not the base. Sometimes it's used interchangeably.
Okay.
But most Scientologists will call it the Int Base.
Okay.
Okay. Shelly Miscaviage worked at the Int Base. And that base is, the location of that base is confidential in Scientology. Like you can Google it and find out where it is. You can drive by it on the freeway. Scientologists don't know where it is. And they're not allowed to ask.
Really?
Okay. So, but to most Scientologists, that Int base is like the most secretive base in Scientology. But what Scientologists don't know is that the Sea Org members who work on the Int base don't even know the location of other more secretive bases. Saying this shit out loud is so crazy. So there's a whole other like shadow organization in Scientology called CST, the Church of Spiritual Technology. Have you heard of this?
No.
You're going to love this. Okay. So this organization,
This is amazing.
This organization is the one tasked with what they call the preservation of the technology project. So, you know, Scientologists call everything LRH wrote the tech. You've heard that word,
I've
right?
heard that, yeah.
The tech.
Mm-hmm.
So the tech is the books, the policy letters, the lectures, the bulletins. Okay. Well, Hubbard believes that this civilization will eventually wipe itself out through nuclear war. And nothing could be more important to civilization than Scientology.
Not a crazy belief.
Not a crazy belief. But L. Ron Hubbard wanted to make sure that once we all nuked ourselves, that the civilization that was remaining would eventually be able to rediscover Scientology. So CST, the Church of Spiritual Technology, takes all of his original works and etches them onto steel plates and nickel like LPs, discs, like records, right? And stores them in like titanium containers, like pumped through with like argon, like neutral argon gas or whatever, and stores them in secret underground nuclear proof vaults. Wow. CST,
oh my God.
The location of those vaults is one of the most confidential secrets in Scientology. People who work at one of the vaults do not know the location of the other vaults. This is like some funny shit. You think Scientology's funny. This is a whole other level.
So when we get annihilated by a comet and some other civilization comes back in 1 billion years and trying to find remains of our civilization, they're going to find fucking Scientology tablets.
That's the hope. Except I'm sure, you know, the bunkers might be nuclear proof, but I doubt they're comet proof. And it's like, I think civilization that's rebuilding itself is going to have other things they care about more than like L. Ron Hubbard's book on how to use a fucking dictionary. So here's the thing. Let's take Shelly Miscaviage out of the equation for a second. These bases would be considered to any normal Sea Org member one of the most highest privileges and honors to be promoted to the level where you're allowed to work at these bases. Mm-hmm. It would also be considered a sweetheart deal. Mm-hmm. The life of a Sea Org member, your day-to-day life, is extremely, nerve-wracking. It's stressful. There's constant demands on your time. Like, there's no such thing as downtime. There's no such thing as time off. There's no such thing as relaxation. There's no TV. There's nothing. It's extremely stressful. And you're usually working with public who will complain if they're not being serviced correctly and everything. Mm. The idea of being able to work off in some remote base where your only job is to like guard the vault, that would be like a dream for any Sea Org member. Okay. Shelly Miscaviage is working at one of these bases. So there's two issues here that could possibly get conflated. Did David Miscavige send Shelly to work at one of these bases as a punishment? Yeah. He doesn't want to see her anymore. So she's at one of these bases. If Shelly Miscavige wanted to leave, would it be easy to leave one of these bases? No, it wouldn't be easy to leave. So if we assume for the sake of just for the sake of the argument, if Shelly Miscavige really wanted to leave and whatever, could one of these bases be used as sort of a prison? Sure. Is that what these bases are though? No. Any Sea Org member would kill to work at one of these bases.
Right.
Was Shelly banished there as a punishment? Yeah. Does that mean Shelly wants to leave the Sea Org? No one has any reason to believe Shelly Miscavige wants to leave the Sea Org. Mm-hmm. Shelly Miscavige was raised by L. Ron Hubbard, practically. She's been working for L. Ron Hubbard since she was like 13, 14 years old. She believes L. Ron Hubbard is coming back. If you're a true believer, and if you're Shelly Miscavige, and if you're married to David Miscavige, and you think your husband's a piece of shit, and he's lost his mind, and he's taken the whole organization and, changed its purpose, if you just put yourself in Shelly Miscavige's shoes, there's nothing about that whole scenario that would make you go, oh, I no longer believe in Scientology anymore, and so I want to leave, and therefore I'm being held against my will. Mm. Like, she believes in the cause. She believes in the purpose. She believes in L. Ron Hubbard. She didn't join Scientology just because she was married to David Miscavige. So what happened is, she used to be David Miscavige's assistant, not just his wife. Her job in the Sea Org was to be Miscavige's assistant. That is the only reason anyone ever saw or heard of Shelly Miscavige. That's why Leah knew Shelly Miscavige. Mm. Being someone's spouse in the Sea Org means nothing. So let's say you're David Miscavige, right? And you have a wife, and she's not your assistant. She has some other job. She would never travel with you, ever. Under any circumstances, for any reason. Sea Org members only do what it is their job to do. It's not like the normal world where if you're the president or you're a CEO, you go to a function, you would just have your wife with you because she's your wife.
Right.
That's not how it works in the Sea Org. So I was working full-time for Scientology for 15 years. I couldn't have picked Shelly Miscavige out of a lineup. She was not a public person.
Wow.
If Miscavige is walking around, he's got an entourage of maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 people. You would never know which one is Shelly. He would never be like, let me introduce you to my wife. Mm. That's not how it works. Her job would be to be seen and not heard unless directly addressed.
Right.
Because Leah is a celebrity, and because Shelly was always with Dave, Leah would see Dave and Shelly at these events. So they became acquaintances.
Right.
They became friends to the degree where maybe Leah would get letters and maybe a gift or something like that. We're not talking about two women who were going girls trips together. Mm-hmm. Okay. So my point here is, once Dave became no longer happy with Shelly for reasons that were not Shelly's fault, he removed her from her post as his assistant. That's the last time anybody would ever expect to see Shelly again.
Right. Okay.
There's probably a dozen or 24 other senior executives of Scientology who've not been seen in 10 or 15 years. Nobody really gives a shit about them because they're not Shelly Miscavige. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So now, there's nothing I have just said that Leah Remini wouldn't agree with. Leah Remini's position is, it's simply inhumane for us not to be able to know that Shelly's okay. That's Leah's position.
And she hasn't been seen anywhere. She hasn't made any kind of public statements. Nothing of the sort.
She hasn't, but we also wouldn't know.
Because she wouldn't do that anyways.
Right.
It's not in her nature.
Right. And let's say Shelly Miscavige had returned to the normal int base. We would never know. Mm-hmm. So all we know is that we don't know. But here's what we learned in the last few weeks. The police the LAPD did finally in the last few weeks come out and say, when Leah Remini filed her missing persons report, they went out to one of these bases and did meet face-to-face with Shelly with an attorney present. They had never made that information known before a few weeks ago. But you see,
when was that? When did they do that?
I want to say 2013, 2014, but okay. I'm a little fuzzy with my dates sometimes on that. But here's the thing. Leah had given the LAPD a letter to deliver to Shelly saying, go with these people, leave, I will take care of you. Don't worry about the fallout. Don't worry about the consequences. I'll take care of you. And she wanted the police to confirm for her that they had given the letter to Shelly. Well, the police wouldn't They wouldn't even tell Leah that they didn't give the letter.
Right.
They just said that's classified. Well, now they're just being assholes.
Right.
There's no such thing as fucking classified when it comes to the police. It's not the CIA. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, but this is where Leah's like this is why she still has this beef. She has not been able, because the LAPD have basically been essentially trolling, like treating her like crap, just not giving her the information. Like the LAPD's behavior is such that it seems like they're covering for Scientology.
Yeah, are they getting paid by David Miscaviage? Or are they in the pocket of Scientology?
Well, the LAPD does get money from Scientology. We know that.
How so?
Well, because every year there's a fundraiser at the frickin' Celebrity Center for the LAPD, and then a representative of the LAPD goes up on stage. Is like they give them this giant oversized.
Every year this happens.
Every year at the holiday party. The holiday party is a fundraiser for the LAPD. And so you've got Captain Polka or whatever. Used to be the head of the LAPD Hollywood division. He's up there getting a giant, the $20,000 oversized checks. Like, thanks Scientology for the $20,000 check.
Wow.
You're like, well, yeah, no wonder you guys are being assholes to the